Well, hello, and welcome. I just decided to come online. I've just got home, long day. Again, it was my teaching day, which is great, but it's very long. Then my son had youth group, and I've got home, and I'm trying to catch up on everything that's happened today. And I thought, well, let's just come on and have a chat and see how you all are. If you're on the replay crew, welcome. I hope you're doing well. So I just want to chat about a lot of the stuff that's been happening today, about Friendly Geordie's new video, which was very interesting. But I don't know whether you saw the Friendly Geordie's video on Christo. There is something right at the end that just cracked me up so badly. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at, and I have tagged Katie Joy because I was watching EKC People Start, so Erin's video this morning, and I haven't watched a lot of Katie Joy. I know we looked at a few of her videos the other day where she was misquoting the Bible, but there's a little, for me, there was a few alarm bells, and so I want to look at that myself. Plus, I want to look at her Facebook ratings. Apparently, she's been rated, she's set up her business page, and there's people. I want to have a look at her Facebook ratings. So we're gonna do that. Or you want to look at the latest that's going on in Australian politics. Can we get any worse? I don't know. Just when I think it can't get worse, it gets worse. So I want to talk about that. Hello, Kellyanne. How are you? I'm sort of getting myself sorted out here. I know. And I've sprung it on everybody, and I apologize. I keep saying to people I'm going to give people a notification, but I actually pressed the wrong button tonight. I pressed live instead of scheduled. So anyway, can't do much about that. Yeah. So at least I've got the thumbnail up. So thank you to Osbel for the thumbnail. Beautiful thumbnail. Yeah. So how is everybody? Yeah, I'm doing well. So because I had to go into the school today, I had to do my weekly RAT test, rapid antigen testing. We call them RAT tests. It's funny that you just go you can just go into a shop now and ask for a RAT. And they know that you're looking for a rapid antigen test and not a real rat. It's quite funny. Yeah. Oh, look. Yeah. So, yeah. It's definitely very, very interesting. So, and there's some interesting things, and apparently National Cabinet, which is also once agrees to relax the isolation rules for close contact, and they ask an expert panel, how to ditch the quarantine period. Seriously, I get really concerned when we put economy over people. I just don't understand that. Yes, we have to live, but our death rate and our infectious rate is going up. But yet we're going to ditch everything. Can someone make that make sense? I just don't understand it. So, what shall we start with first? It's interesting that our government doesn't our current government does not like climate change or the word climate change. However, Prince Charles, our future head of state, before we get into the whole has actually contributed Australia's weird weather to climate change. Very, very interesting that the future king is saying it's climate change, but the government doesn't believe in that. It's definitely going to be interesting. So it's Friday night here. Friday night and the lights are low. I've got no place to go. So I'm here. So I wondered whether anybody would like to join me for a little bit of chat tonight. Come and have a chat about whatever is going on. And yeah. So the other thing is that the new BA2 variant, or the son of Omicron, as we nickname it, is going to be approaching as the most contagious disease we know, and yet we're wanting to get rid of all our restrictions. Right. Makes lots of sense, doesn't it? Bye-bye. All right, so shall we start with Friendly Geordies or Christo? Let's start with Christo because finally the mainstream media had popped on, but I have been and literally have nothing to say. Hey, I got nothing to say. Oh, hey, Bruce. So let's have a look at let's have a look at what all the different media outlets, how they all reported. It's because again, it's very interesting. And why, again, haven't they jumped onto the Dutton stuff? I'm just making note of the time. Right, so let's have a look at what the media has said. So this is the Guardian. So that this headline is police drop all charges against Friendly Geordie's producer accused of stalking John Barilaro. Okay, let me just make this bigger. Okay, so it says police have dropped all charges. But that's all right, Kellyanne. That's okay. The option's there. Police have dropped all charges against Friendly Geordie's producer Christo after accusing him of stalking former New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro. He was arrested. Remember, he was arrested in June after alleged stalking. Remember, 2 times. He was charged with 4 counts of stalking or intimidation with intent to cause fear or harm. How can he have 4? How can it be 4 when we know of 2? But on Thursday in Dowling Street Centre, Magistrate Susan McIntyre ordered New South Wales Police pay costs of $12,000 to Lanka's lawyers Mark Davis. Davis confirmed his client was considering his legal options after authorities dropped the charges with no explanation. He suffered enormous damage to his reputation. It's not a nice thing to be called a stalker when it's untrue. He alleged Lanka's girlfriend and mother were both assaulted in the course of arrest. All options are now being considered. Video footage of Lanka's arrest uploaded to YouTube includes a period of commotion where the camera is lowered and his mother can be heard exclaiming she was knocked over and that a police officer had assaulted her. A police officer can be heard in the video denying the accusation, saying he tripped over. Police have previously declined to comment on the assault allegation. Davis said that while his client was delighted on Thursday with the result, he was also very lucky that it's disturbing to reflect that if Christo hadn't filmed it, if he didn't have resources of a legal team, he would likely be marching forward with a conviction. And that's true too. The criminal case against YouTube channel producer formed part of a larger spat between his boss, Shanks, and Barilaro, the former New South Wales Nationals leader who sued Shanks separately in the federal court for defamation. In November, Barilaro received an apology but no damages when the lawsuit was settled. This defamation suit over the two videos titled Bruz and Secret Dictatorship were published on Shanks' YouTube channel in 2020. In the criminal case, officers alleged Lanka intimidated or stalked the then Deputy Premier in 2021 on two occasions at Macquarie University on the 19th of April and in Sydney on the 4th of June. Here's the question. So they said he stalked him on two occasions, but they'd filed 4 charges. Asked why he didn't like Barilaro, Lanka said outside the court last year, it wasn't about liking him. It's about doing journalism. That's true. So that was the Guardian's report. So let's go to news.com.au. New South Wales Police dropped charges against Friendly Geordie's producer Christo Lanka, ordered to pay legal costs. So let's have a look. But news host Andrew Bolt says the violent arrest of Geordie's producer Christo Lanka disturbs him. Mr. Bolt has come out in defence of. I don't know how I feel about that either. But anyway, let's have a look at this. Video will play after the ad. Okay.
It's a very popular YouTube star called Friendly Geordie's, actually Jordan Shanks. Now his shtick is conspiracy theories, outrage, being rude and all that kind of stuff. And the left loves him. I mean, Labor frontbench Tanya Plibersek, fellow conspiracy monger.
All right, so, continue.
Kevin Rudd, they've talked to him. But when you fling as much mud as he does, you are asking for trouble, like with his attack on the New South Wales Deputy Premier, John Barilaro.
He's a con man to the core, powered by spaghetti. Not only did he use the public's money to prop up a friend's failing business, he perjured himself 9 times over.
No evidence to back those claims, and Barilaro naturally sued Shanks for defamation.
My name is Jordan Shanks, and I'm being sued by John Barilaro, the Deputy Premier of New South Wales.
Now, about Friendly Geordies in this case, I'm not really fussed one way or the other. The truth will out.
But remember, I don't know when this was either, but remember, Friendly Geordies, it's all settled now. But it's this criminal case. Now the criminal case is settled as well.
What disturbs me is what happened to his producer, a young university student called
Bruce, he couldn't prove that he wasn't powered by spaghetti. Well, did Barilaro prove that he was powered by spaghetti?
Lanka has been charged now with stalking Barilaro after twice trying this kind of stunt.
Hey, John. Hey, John. I've got something for you. John, I've got a lawsuit. You're suing my boss.
Now, for that, Lanka got arrested violently by the New South Wales Fixated Persons Unit, a unit actually set up to tackle.
As I said, it's got to be a worry when Andrew Bolt is actually defending you, to be honest with you. Hello, the Fox. How are you? In my opinion.
Terrorists, crazy people. What you're about to see shocks me.
No, I'm allowed to film it.
No, you're not.
No, I'm allowed to film it.
No, you're not. Because you're under arrest.
Could you film
allowed
this?
to film
Can
it.
you film this, Mum?
You can film it. That's
Yeah.
okay. But you're not allowed to. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to.
No.
No, Mum, you can take my. No, you can take my phone. No, take my phone. Take my phone.
You hurt a 51-year-old woman. You knocked
I
me
tripped
over.
over.
You killed my dog.
I tripped
Who's
over.
old.
Okay.
No, you did not.
Yeah,
You pushed away. You pushed
No,
me down.
I tripped over.
Hello, short order cook. Hello, the Fox. Yeah. So we're just looking at at the moment we're just looking at all the news articles about Linker's court case, and we want to look at the very end. That if you watch the Friendly Geordie's video, there was something at the very end that cracked me up.
You assaulted me. You just assaulted me. I've got
did.
witnesses.
We told you to hand over the phone.
I have got
You
witnesses.
handed it to her. I tripped over you.
You
That's
pushed
what
me
happened.
down in my own home.
No, I didn't.
You
I
absolutely-
totally environment. That's all.
If you do anything to my son, you will pay.
So remember that. I mean, that's what he got charged for stalking for, being a menace. Being a menace.
You can't do this in Australia.
And the boy led away in handcuffs. I mean, apparently this is what we now do in Australia, as we've already seen, by the way, on the other side of the political spectrum, with the appalling arrests in Melbourne of Avi Yemeni, a journalist of the right-wing Rebel News who covers anti-lockdown protests and keeps getting arrested by police even though he's doing nothing illegal. Joining me is one of Australia's top defamation lawyers, Justin Quill of Thompson Gear Lawyers.
No, I actually remember this. This is from earlier in the year. This is when he first got arrested. I remember this.
Justin, always good to catch up with you. Firstly, the arresting and the charge Shanks's producer, this university student, handcuffed, thrown to the ground, etc. Does that worry you?
Yeah, absolutely. It worries me. Look, there's not much doubt that Shanks has been a bit of a smart aleck, and he was always going to cop a defamation lawsuit. He probably even welcomes it, perhaps. But as you pointed out earlier, I'm more concerned about what happened to his producer. I mean, is this what politicians are going to do, and the tactic they're going to employ when they don't like questions being asked? I imagine Daniel Andrews probably wanted Peter Credlin arrested when she was asking tough questions. I imagine there's been plenty.
Justin.
I definitely don't want to encourage Daniel Andrews, that's for sure. I imagine, dare I say it, Andrew, over the years, a few politicians and a few people would have liked to have had you arrested as well for asking tough questions, but that's what journalists do. And, being door-stopped, that's part and parcel of being a politician. Now, I may not be privy to all of the circumstances, but the general look of this is not good. Journalists should be able to turn up at uncomfortable times and ask uncomfortable questions, and politicians have sort of just got to cop that.
So remember, it wouldn't have seemed to have been going anywhere. Hello, Bella.
There is some actual, real, genuine threat, I'm very concerned about it.
Yeah, I know. Why not just serve him with a warrant rather than go to his door? I mean, the fixated persons unit.
I'm wondering what they would be considering. I mean, there would be. I wonder whether they could do that. The warrant was legal, so therefore you've got illegal trespass onto a property, illegal arrest. You've got damage. You've got injury. There's quite a few things there. It's going to be interesting to see whether they can find whether or not the arrest was lawful.
Seriously? Now, as for Jordan Shanks himself, well, I'm losing a lot less free speech hawk, as are you, But that said, I mean, I don't know. Is Barilaro suing him? Is that if the threat to his free speech?
Look, I don't think so. This isn't going to be any particularly groundbreaking case. We've long known that the laws of defamation apply equally to social media, whether it be YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook, or Twitter, in the same way as they apply to you and I on this program, or the editor of tomorrow's Australian or Daily Telegraph, Herald Sun, or whatever newspaper it might be. So in that respect, the fact that a YouTuber is being sued is neither here nor there.
Well, can the RSPCA do an investigation and see whether the animal was injured, and then sue them, charge them for animal cruelty? I don't know. How many things can we get them for?
It's not surprising. What we heard the words, of course, Andrew, as your defamation lawyer from time to time. I'm very happy to say, of course, we were not adopting Shanks's words as you played them there earlier.
How often have you saved me? How often have you saved me? I didn't even mean to suggest. I've seen no evidence for this. Oh gosh, now you got me in a sweat, Justin. But
of course, you didn't mean to suggest it, but that's just the way my brain is wired. When I see Andrew Bolt's name come up on my phone. But look, I don't think this is going to be particularly groundbreaking. The imputations seem pretty clear there. We heard what he said. A con man to the core. That's the allegation. I'm not quite sure how he defends that. So that'll be very, very interesting. The lawyers are interesting in this case as well. We've got Mark O'Brien as the solicitor for the Deputy Premier. He's also the lawyer acting for Ben Roberts-Smith. So he's going to have his hands full at the moment. The Deputy Premier's QC is Sue Chrysanthu, who has acted for Geoffrey Rush, Greens MP Sarah Hanson-Young, and most recently, of course, Christian Porter. It's...
Yeah, see? That's interesting, isn't it?
It's an interesting team that they've put together, the Deputy Premier.
This is from last year, Short Order Cook. So anyway, so we know that police have dropped the charges, and that they talk about his dramatic arrest. They claimed he stalked him at the Macquarie University. Footage from both interactions were recorded. Remember, they recorded them. And then Mr. Lenker was arrested in a dramatic scene. He pleaded not guilty. But it's cost them $12,000. Lawyers for New South Wales Police withdrew the application after Magistrate Jacqueline Mildage said the videos did not amount to contempt of court. Remember, they were trying to bring Shanks into it by saying that he was doing a contempt of court by making videos about it. Yeah, it's been dropped now. That's $12,000 is what he's got to pay for Christo's lawyer. What's it cost them? Well, that's what Mark Davis said. If he hadn't recorded it, it would have been bad. So New South Wales have dropped all charges against Friendly Geordies. So this one says Friendly Geordies producers charges dropped. So I don't understand how he could be charged with 4 counts of stalking when there were only 2 incidents recorded. See, it says here, it's disturbing to reflect if Christo hadn't filmed it, he may have had a conviction. So that is nearly identical to the Guardian article. And then we've got this one. So this is the ABC. But yeah, $12,000 in legal costs they paid. They had to pay. And then they've got the ABC's put here the related story. Friendly Geordie's producer charged with stalking. So I don't know whether you saw the video, but well, I want to know. Well, there surely has to be an investigation into how this was so messed up, because it's a debacle. I mean, surely New South Wales taxpayers should be entitled to know why they lost $12,000 for on a case that had no. Well, it would. We said as soon as we saw the footage that we didn't think. Short Order Cook says this whole thing could have been avoided. This was a mess. Yep. The footage. So who is paying the New South Wales Police Force? Or who pays for the police? The taxpayers. So anyway. Us is paying. Yes, you are paying. New South Wales are paying. All right. So this is the video he did, but there is one bit right at the very end that I just love. So, of course, it was Friendly Geordie's had his own cameras there. Of course you do. I'm going to go right to the end because where the funny bit happens. Because what's a little more deficit, said Bruce. That's right. Who watched the Kevin Rudd one? Oh, that's too far. Oh, here we go. All right. So here is my favorite bit of this whole video.
It does, and a lot of people end up in different situations, but it really is a really good result. I'm very, very thankful and lucky to have it. Bad luck.
I've watched that over and over and over again. I just watch it over and over again, and it cracks me up every time.
I'm very, very thankful and lucky to have it. Bad luck. Dickhead.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it one more time. It's the best ending to the video.
To have it. Bad luck. Dickhead.
And how they put the Officer McQueen, the McQueen guy's face on there is classic. They say small things in your small minds. I'm okay to be. You can call me small. You can say that I've got a small mind because that's just funny. But to put the guy's face there. He's hilarious. All right. Oh, oh yes. That is a classic Australian movie. Oh, tell him you're dreaming. I say that so much these days, you know. Oh yeah, and this one is a good one too. This is also the clip they could have played. Suffering you jocks. It's the vibe of it. It's the Constitution. It's what do you call this? Chicken. It's going straight to the pool room. Yeah. Suffering you jocks. Here's the translation for those of you that don't know. A scornful phrase to tell another person after victory. For example, perfect for saying to the opposing counsel after winning a court case. Suffering your jocks. So if you win anything, you just say suffering your jocks. Which is underwear for men. Oh. Oh wow, it's possum breeding season. Wow, you got possums in your roof. Oh gee, I remember we had a possum that used to come sneak down and it would eat. I remember we used to get in trouble for eating this food that my mum had left out, and we all denied it. And it turned out that it was a possum. My mother had to apologize to us all for blaming us all. Oh, gee. Tell him he's dreaming. That's what I say for about bras. Tell him he's dreaming. Oh boy. But I have to tell you that, yeah, that for me was the highlight of that Friendly Geordies video. Just the way that they put, I don't even know why I remember his name's McQueen. McQueen's face. They used the quote from the castle. I always make you laugh. Oh dear. So here he is. Here is the quote in context, because we like to play things in context. Oops, no, that's not what we don't want. That one. We want the one before it. Well, I can hear he's suffering. That's what you're supposed to hear. Suffering Joss. That's what I say. All right. Oh boy. So we know that Katie Joy has been on this. It is funny. This cult, this new cult thing, these new dancer things. Now, there was a clip I saw today. I got weird. Oh, wow. Nice, the fox. Now, I saw something on Twitter where somebody had said about they were doing something and she was essentially riling everybody up to go report them. And she's still defending why. Why it's a cult. Now, I really don't know. I'm not arguing. I don't really know. It's up to you, but I don't agree with mass flagging for the sake of people's livelihoods. KJ is jelly that she's not in our. Well, hello, Will. How are you? But what I want to do is, and I'm not usually, as I said, it's a Friday night and I'm all alone. I'm home alone. I'm not home alone. I've got my kids here, but they're in their rooms. I wanted to look at something because so Without a Crystal Ball is an entertainment west. Well, we know she's a. All right, here we go. This is her Facebook. So someone says, for the sake of argument, let's just entertain the dancers. And then someone says, except that is not what the court papers say. I'm only going by the cherry-picking snapshots of what you posted. You also just posted the allegations, not facts. If you're going to use the court papers, at least post all of the court papers so that we can see what you're saying is true. Court cases are just allegations and shade until they've gone through the whole process. By the way, this case was dismissed because it did not have merit, which is what you said in a live. You've got the greyhound back again. Wow. So people are calling her out. I've been following these guys for a year and I knew something was off, but I never imagined this. At the old times, like I know. Many have asked for an update about the Wilkins meetings with Miranda. Rather than praying for information from Kelly, I simply sent her a message of support. I know the Wilkins are going through so much and really processing the severity of the situation. I have no doubt they are still worried for Miranda's safety. One meeting won't change. This isn't a process that's fixed. Every day around the world, families are ripped apart by cults. Miranda isn't going to wake up right now. She's still very much under Shin's control. We can only give the Wilkins family space. My coverage of 7M will continue. Investigations by my team are ongoing. When I can release more, I will. Now, she's talking about, from what I've been told or what people have said that have watched it, that she's still maintaining he's going to get 40 years. Yep, but we know on the scale of charges, as bad as they are, the guy that made the videos got life imprisonment. They're not going to give him the same sentence as the person that made the videos he watched. I'm sorry. I just can't see that happening. Told you. This one says, told you. Trafficked, you know nothing from your Tali Westbrook lawsuit. Stop accusing people of crime. Stop stalking people. You're a gossip vlogger. The biggest problem of this is you, not James. You are ruining the lives of some talented young people and endangering their families by creating false hope and narratives and taking their money away like the LA Clippers sponsored. And today she said nobody will hire the dancers because of this. She's destroying these dancers but said it's not a cult. Same thing to Jessa Duggar, who did nothing. Lots of assumptions. Any proof? You're so twisted. Leave this woman alone. She made a statement and talked to her parents about their private issues you have nothing to do with. Leave her name out of your mouth and stop using the hashtag with her name in it. Stop trying to profit off her. Get a real job. I agree with all you said. All KJ can see is dollar signs. So she's never been a reporter or a journalist. That's the problem. New people subscribe and she tells this BS. She's never taken down a cult. After Jay Duggar was convicted, she was done. Made thousands of dollars. Taken away. And had Jess's sponsor taken away. Posted she abuses her children. I'm just waiting for the day they sue her. She has 3 lawsuits right now for defamation and slander and continues to do this, but people are ticked. And I don't think we'll take much more. I don't know how she got involved with Miranda's parents, but she needs to stop. Well, to be perfect, and I think Erin, as I said, I was watching EKC People Sucked, or Erin today, and she made a very, very good point. Who do you think is gonna guess who's gonna get the blame when she gets sued? Who is she gonna throw under the bus? Her team, because that's what we see. Ma'am, I thought you were talking to her parents and to Dr. Phil on behalf of her parents, but you had no idea this was happening. Are your sources the same ones you use for your Duggar content? You are digging into records and posting her home, how much her rent is. She's not even a public person and you're sticking your nose into her private life. She's getting hounded. This page is becoming obsessive. So your idea of helping a so-called victim is to harass them. So that's her Facebook page. But what I love, oh look, she's away at the moment. Let's have a look at the reviews. Oh, where do I find those? Or did she hide them? Someone did post a picture that said her sources were Jim Beam, Jack Daniels. So she's got a 1.3 out of 5. I started watching her a few years ago, but the amount of lies, fence jumping, and deception is unbelievable. She's never owned up to any of her horrible behaviors. Stay far away from this dangerous woman who masquerades as a self-proclaimed reporter or journalist, but is not. Google her name to see how much harm she's caused. She's YouTube's most disliked creator with no friends. No one will collaborate with KJ because she's so dangerous. She's doxxed. She's called a child essay victim, just being a brat, stated as fact. that Tati Westbrook's husband pulled the plug on his mother for money, then proceeded to ignore four cease and desists. The Westbrooks sent her to take down her videos in which she lied about them, then was sued by them, then didn't even assess the claims in the lawsuit in court, just played legal tiddlywinks to deflect. Case was dismissed due to jurisdiction, and yet spinning a delusional narrative that she's won the lawsuit. She puts others down for going out during COVID because it puts her medically fragile son at risk. And the very next day, this hypocrite goes out and gets Botox and fillers and lip injections of all things. So she puts her medically fragile son's health at risk for something so selfish. Then, when KJ thought she might actually have COVID, instead of quarantining or leaving the house until she knew for sure, because her son is fragile, she does not. What does she do instead? Picks up her son while he's sleeping, places him on her chest with his face right near hers, breathing on him for a freaking photo op. She's completely selflessly disregarded her son's fragile life at that point. IMO. Unacceptable, and her face became infected with massive boil at her Botox injection hole site because she's unhygienic. With a medically fragile son in the house, you'd think she'd be obsessed with cleanliness and germs, but no. She picks at her feet and nose, constantly touches her neck skin, wipes her nose on blankets, licks makeup applicators. Then there's the fact she has no manners at all. Belching, burping, and yawning while on live stream. Sorry, I yawn on live stream too. Sorry. And never says excuse me, let alone be embarrassed. Yesterday she took her hand and went up her pants leg to scratch her crotch. What? Wasn't embarrassed and didn't address it. Did I miss that? She did what? Yesterday she took her hand and went up her pants leg to scratch her crotch. Wasn't embarrassed. Didn't even address it. Speaking of crotch, this despicable woman calls children crotch goblins and disease-ridden crotch fruits. Additionally, she inserts herself into any and every instance of trauma. Oh, hello, LER. It was gross, was it? And uses it as fun new content, her actual words, and for personal profit. She's obsessed with the Duggars, yet her hundreds of videos on them she's feeding her audience lies upon lies is a potential gaslighter. She doesn't do proper research and just wants to be the first or the only one with a story, most times being completely inaccurate with the info she's stating as fact. Then there's video after video of her poor medically fragile son coming into her recording room, begging for her, and she makes him leave, dismisses him, yells at him, then goes back to her stream to state how annoyed she is. She claims she's an advocate and tolerance and acceptance for all. Yet she literally made me sick and offended thousands of bashing the Catholic Church and pretty much all religions on a whole, calling them cults. She even bragged and laughed with her husband on camera about how they pretended to be Christians for 3 years while they were accepting monetary donations from the church and its parishioners. Lately, she, an atheist, was mocking reading passages from the Bible and using the Bible as a prop. Literally no other creator on YouTube wants anything to do with her. That's going to tell you something there, because of her terrible reputation that she continues to ruin on a daily basis. She's currently in yet more defamation suits by Todd Chrisley and Steve McRae, and there's a class action suit in the works because she's disparaged, famed so many people. Who's banned? She constantly makes herself a victim to seek sympathy and gain subscribers and followers to make her more money on super chats. Sad fishing. Her MO is whenever she does something horrible and people start catching on and giving her heat, she will put some claim out about her son. She tries to cry to appear more authentic, but is so unrealistic and untrue, so nothing comes out. Either that or she'll be a new victim to something. Like clockwork, anyone who's watched her these 3 years can attest these facts. This is still going. What a review. She calls anyone who questions her or disagrees with her trolls, and when asked why so many dislike her, they're all just trolls or from cults I expose. No, we're all former subscribers who used to be KJ supporters, followers, but have seen the harm she causes or have been hurt ourselves in some way by her. Most former subscribers, who she refers to as trolls, were blocked by KJ for no reason at all. If you ask a sincere question respectfully, blocked. If you try to sympathise with any sub story she's talking about in a live stream, blocked. If you discuss anything other than what she wants to discuss, blocked. She blocked paying members, yells at them for being selfish, not focusing on her. She controls who subs can or can't follow, what they can and can't talk about. Gaslights when confronted with her hypocrisies, lies, and contradictions, and is very much the definition of a cult leader herself, AMO. She's thrown every person who's ever been on his side under the bus and can't keep a single friend. He's just a few of the running tally of those she's wronged. Leslie Bass, LB, Nick Snyder, Dustin Daly, BX Beast Boy, Preacher Boy, Emily D. Baker, Tardy and James Westbrook, James Charles, Janelle Easton, Todd Chrisley, Lindsay Chrisley, Amy Duggar, Jessa Duggar, Steve McRae, Creep Show Art, and many more. This isn't a complete list. Just a few of the things off the top of my head. She's also extremely jealous of other successful women and does real life harm to them. Example, Jessa Seawald. Jessa Duggar, who had a large following, was trying to earn money for her family of 4 children, her husband and herself. KJ makes fun of the Duggar girls that they can't earn their own money, yet saw to it that Jessa couldn't earn an income the first chance KJ had. She contacted a social media company that was sponsoring Jessa, told them not to sponsor her, and if they do, they support racism and CSA. Jessa did nothing wrong. She's the sister of Joss, who's recently been convicted of possessing CSAM. Native blindly believe in her and put their sponsorship. Shame on them for not looking into her claims and falling prey to KJ's lies and manipulations. And Jessa's not the only one she's done that to. She proudly boasts about all the people she's done that. Allegedly, of course, but please go see for yourselves. Before you stand behind someone this evil and destructive, Google her and check out Reddit or without WOACB versus WOACB on YouTube. You'll see all the proof you need for yourselves. You don't need a crystal ball to see she's YouTube's biggest hypocrite, liar, doxer, manipulator, sad fisher, gaslighter, and so much more. Guess what? I'm not even one of the people most knowledgeable to all she's done. That goes back years, allegedly. She joined Facebook groups, Sad Fish got money and gifts from them, and it ended up booting her because her lies were discovered. In these cases, she used the money given not for her medically fragile son's medical bills as she claimed she needed it for, but she's proceeded to build a brand new house and brag how she got the money to build it to those same Facebook members. People also question how she has time to be a freaking mother to that son. She's literally always on social media of some sort. She accidentally showed something in a live, and unexpectedly at the bottom, you've averaged 16 hours a day on your phone. 16 hours. Katie Joy Paulson is actively causing harm to many people, real life. She's crossed the line a long time ago, way too many times. Catherine needs to be stopped. She doesn't deserve a platform of any kind to continue bullying others and causing harm. She needs to be deplatformed. So there are 2 comments here. Please listen to what everyone is saying because it is true. Stay far away from Katie. She's toxic and lies about everything. If you associate with her and then cut her off, she'll crucify you, and it's never ending drama. All of this is true. I've known this for 3 years. This one says, this is just recent. KJ treats her sons poorly. I unsubscribe because I do not support a creator who lacks good morals and values. I was also sick of all the dugout content. Her subs, viewers, highest paying members, even her own mods. No one escapes her vile. Who abuses her own community in this way? The most unwelcoming creator of all social media platforms. Avoid her. She says she dismantles cults, but in all, actually, her page and followers act more like a cult than the IBLP. She's the cult leader. They believe everything she says without doing their own research. When someone does finally call her out for her misinformation, the subs attack everybody. All right. This one was posted yesterday. Katie Joy is an expert manipulator and ruthless persecutor of the church. She's a charismatic leader who is able to garner cult-like following. Many of her conquests include her rapid followers, whom she turns on and attacks whenever she feels betrayed or opposed. Up until now, nobody has been able to bring her down despite countless number of celebrities and victims who have suffered at her hands. Why? Katie is not a regular person. She's obsessed and has a spirit that is unholy. Think Blair Witch program. Hello, Tom. Warning, she will hurt anybody unless you are spiritually protected, both her targets and her own followers. So she acts like someone who is in love with those she hates and has been rejected over and over again. She's fueled by hate and shows it through harassing all that don't know, resources that are unreliable. Don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth. She's the most unwelcoming creator on YouTube and social media. She attacks her own community, members and mods included. She's a slithering snake waiting to attack like a viper to anyone who questions her. Research her yourself. Katie Joy Polson. Read the channel subreddit without a WOACB. Best YouTube channel to watch to see KJ's hypocrisy is WOACB versus WOACB. Research on your own. She's not to be trusted. This woman is a toxic leech. She has no qualification in anything that I can find, and certainly not journalism. She has harassed a young dancer for over a week all over social media, mocked Christians, published a falsehood about a building occupied by an active Catholic parish, and posted pictures that are under copyright. She needs to slither back under whatever stone would welcome her, but at this point, she's giving snakes a bad name. Toxic woman hates religion and religious people. Gets drunk on lies and insults her followers, blocks them after calling them names. Blocks anyone who doesn't think like her or questions her. You basically have to be a follower blindly and question nothing, like a cult leader likes it. Constantly digs into people's personal information and puts it out there for all to see and harass when it has nothing to do with what it's supposed to trying to expose. Stay away from this lady. Word around the internet is that she has all this time for social media because she locks her kid in his room for 10 hours a day, allegedly, but there's literal video out there. Awful reporter, awful person. Her hate content should never be considered entertainment. Religions, political, and personal attack-focused posts and videos. She posts lies or gives out personal information, what state people live in, dresses, things of that nature, then tells her followers to go to that person she's talking about and blast them. KJ likes to masquerade as a journalist, religious crusader, war correspondent, and some type of law aficionado. But in reality, all she does is steal other people's work from the newspapers, Facebook, YouTube, and Reddit. Whoops. She's a cut and paster and claims the work as her own. If you disagree with KJ, she automatically blocks you. Also, if she doesn't like the person she's covering, she tells her followers to go to that person's social media and spam them with hate posts. She's dangerous, and one day she's going to poke the wrong person and someone will get hurt. I really hope this is what it takes, She's a dangerous and needs to be kicked off. Avoid like the plague. Seek your own information from a credible source, not Katie Joy. Nope, of all the nopes, Yvette never noped the nopedest. She's a lying narcissist who stalks and bullies people. Someone right here, love your channel. Thank you for all your hard work. I'm just trying to find all the recent ones. No, that was it. So there you go. They are the latest. This one had 50. I think she may be regretting engaging Keemstar. Remember when she went after Keemstar? Now, my problem that I have with her and her latest obsession, and look, you can call out things without talking about it every day. There are so many posts on this. All the notes. Yeah, all the notes are the notes and the notes. Who put the notes in the notesy notes? Look at all the posts on this cult thing. Miranda, look, yeah, her Bible, right? Now, even let's just say, even if she is right, and it is a cult, let's just say she's right and it is a cult. What credibility does she have? The more that she goes on about it, the less likely I'm going to pay attention. And so, in my opinion, the more she carries on about it, the worse she makes it. That's just my opinion. And so I just find that it gets harder and harder to believe, because some of the stuff that she is saying, as I said, it could all be true, but I'm not really going to believe it because of the fact of where it's come from. And I really hate saying that, because I really hate saying it, because I don't want to be that person that dismisses everything. But what choice have I got? You know, whenever you look at stuff, they always say consider the source. Well, I am considering the source, and the source isn't very good. Look, if they've got really bad contracts, then that could be easily solved with contract negotiation. So, you know, that could be easily solved with doesn't she supposed to have some lawyer in her team? The lawyer in her team couldn't renegotiate contract. One of the things that really she was talking about she was talking about the fact that they were living you know, like two couples would live in a house together, and you know, and then there'd be a single person in the house. What part of reality is she not part of? Because there are so many people, even in Australia, that are renting out rooms. It is not uncommon for people to share a house because of expense. And you're right, Will. But she can't grasp that concept. All right, so we'll watch a couple of these from Llama Girl, because Llama Girl, you know, she's really good. So let's see. So this was yesterday's one, I think. This was after. All right. So we're going to watch this. So we're going to watch it from Llama Girls, because it's the only way I can stomach it. But from what as I said, I just really, she doesn't understand that it's quite common for normal people. I mean, doesn't she have a 4-bedroom house or something? She could easily earn more money by renting out one of the rooms. All right, let's have a look.
Hey friends, don't have a ton of time. I've done did a post earlier today, and I am going to sort of tell you where I'm at with my research and what's happening right now. So I'm going to turn comments off while I share. I just don't want to get distracted, not because I don't appreciate you. So
she doesn't want to get distracted because she doesn't want to. All right, see you, the fox. She doesn't want to get distracted because she doesn't want to have to answer people's questions.
I shared some information about sort of the living situation for the dancers, and specifically I will not be answering questions about where they live, what houses they live in, or their addresses.
And why on earth does she know that stuff? Isn't that freaky that some internet person has got all of that details? How does she have that information? Why does she have that information?
It's extremely important that we protect them right now, and I don't want anyone showing up at their houses or anything like that. Like, I don't want to put anyone at risk right now. This is not a safe group that we're working with. Okay, so just be very mindful of that. And then when it comes to like how they're living and where they're living, all I know is that the areas that they're living are not the best areas. That's all I know. That's not to say that they don't have like decent size homes.
How do you define what the best area is? Aren't they in LA? Isn't like only Hollywood like the best area? And then everywhere else is not very good. Is that my understanding? Because I don't really know LA or anything. I have no knowledge of that stuff. But is that correct, or am I totally off there? I'd imagine Hollywood would be good.
But the homes that they're living in are not mansions at all.
But why does that matter? That they don't live in mansions? Because if they did live in mansions, she'd be complaining.
And they all live in groups. And this is pretty consistent with how Robert has run his church in the past. So another thing that I was going to answer questions about was like, how do I know this information? So I am now working with a team, but I am not going to be disclosing like who, because again, we're dealing with a situation where this is a very tough situation because we want to be able to expose what's happening, but we don't want to put anyone at risk. So I am trying very hard not to give away too much.
Exactly. Short Order Cook says, she says, I'm not going to say anything, but gives out all the information. Exactly. Oh, exactly. Oh, she can buy a Bentley now, can she? Wow.
If that makes sense. Everything will be presented in a way where it's like you will understand it, but at this point, yeah, the safety of the dancers is like the paramount, but it's also the safety of you, just to not get involved in something where you're getting yourself involved with. You might be trying to go find them or whatever. Just like, it's not a safe situation. Anytime you're dealing with a group like this that has the kind of resources in which they do, they can do things that are very dangerous. So those are just.
Here's a question for you. Is she preparing for her next victim attack? Just saying, because, you know, if something happens now, she's going to blame this cult for going after her, and that's going to get her more sympathy. Just saying.
Sort of like caveats there.
Don't tell Todd Chrisley. Oh, maybe he might ask for it.
At this point, yeah, the safety of the dancers is like the paramount, but it's also the safety of you.
Well, then shut up. If the safety of the dancers are paramount, then stop talking. She's still trying to compel people, but she's not. No, she hasn't.
Just to not get involved in something where you're getting yourself involved with. You might be trying to go find them or whatever. Just like, it's not a safe situation. Anytime you're dealing with a group like this that has the kind of resources in which they do, they can do things that are very dangerous. So
she's setting us up. She's setting us up ready for. She's going to now start talking about. I believe that she's got the Todd Chrisley stuff coming up very soon, hasn't she? Get ready. We're going to get the. She's been harassed and stalked by this cult.
Those are just sort of like caveats there. When it comes to like whether or not they're in a cult, they're in a cult. When it comes to, well, why do some family members speak to the dancers and other family members don't? First and foremost, when we're looking at this situation, you have to remember that in nearly every group that has a cult-like dynamic, leaders will designate like who's safe and who's not safe and who's demonic and who's not demonic. And if a family is not going to rock the boat and they're willing to go along with it, they're not going to ask questions and they're just going to sort of like be either complicit because they don't care or they don't maybe don't have a super close relationship with their loved one anyway, or they're benefiting from it because of the financial aspect. That I don't know. But I will say this. It's not just Miranda who's had her family cut off, and it's not just family that's being cut off. It's friends and, it's extended relatives. It's not just one person that this is happening to. And I can't express to you enough that this is not something that's brand new for Robert. He has done this before. He had a group that split in 2008 that had 70 members, and the allegations back then were very similar. And I just found a sworn deposition that he did in 2011, where he admits that he literally tells people that he's the man of God and that they should not only donate to the church, but pay for.
Being a man of God, a lot of Christian men will say that. There's nothing wrong with stating that that's what Christian men often aspire to be, men of God.
For him to have a lifestyle. So in a deposition and evidence that was provided to the court as a part of Lydia's lawsuit, there was, dozens upon dozens of checks that people were writing directly to Robert just because he was their pastor. So and that's on top of donating to the church. And he flat out admitted in the deposition to using. So instead of using money for the donations of the church to financially profit in his businesses. So instead of using money for the church, he was taking donations made to the church to buy businesses and properties that benefited him financially. So this is, again, not new for him. And he truly believes that this is what people should be doing, according to what he says on there. But reading his actual testimony and actually reading what he says, it's wow. So he has his church split in two factions. His sister took half the group with her and left him with half. And he had a lot of members. He had about 35 or 30 stay with him, and then the rest went with her. And he has not talked to his sister since. That's what it says in the deposition, because he described it as a hostile takeover. So I think even then he was grouping people and having them live together, and he was controlling and dictating every aspect of their lives.
Having people live in houses together, as I said, that's not.
And there was questions in there about the computers and if they were actually spying on people. I mean, it's extensive. So this isn't just this is happening to Miranda, and so because Slavic's mom talks to him, it must not be true. Instead of focusing on what family members haven't been cut off, focus instead on the information coming out about the group. Is it normal for a manager to house all of their clients in pockets of 3, 4, 5, or 6 in homes owned?
Is it unusual for? I don't know. Maybe that's part of the contract. I mean, what about the people that join the circus? They get told where to go and how, and they live in caravans and travel and Okay, has a live stream that went through all the. Okay, cool. I'll have to try.
By your management or your church, have them pay rent to you for living in places that you've given them to live.
It's not unusual that you have to pay rent for a house that you are living in. Most people have to pay rent for a house. I don't know. I know that in Australia, home ownership has really diminished, and most people are now renting, can't afford a home, and so then a lot of them will take on people, housemates, who will pay rent to them. And also in Australia, there are mining companies that provide housing to their workers as well. Tell her, Joe, we pay rent or mortgage. What she's describing to me, what I am hearing, is an everyday occurrence to the average Joe. Yes, I said the average Joe.
Number 6, in homes owned by your management or your church, have them pay rent to you for living in places that you've given them to live, having them drive vehicles that are leased or provided by the church. Is it normal for them to ask you to pay them 20% on top of other fees in which they donate to the church? Is it normal for a manager to want to have full control and access to all of your emails, your social medias, controlling like every aspect of your lives? Is it normal for a manager to...
Do we have proof of this? Now, some managers may actually do that because some managers may have to oversee the social media of certain people. I don't know. I thought a manager's job was to sort all of that out anyway.
Dictate who you can talk to and how you can spend your money. And then if the manager says you can't say that, you can't say that. If you want to buy something and they say no,
the manager's going to say you can't say that if it's detrimental to the business. That's what they do. It's like having a media advisor. Politicians do it all the time. They go, can't answer that. Yeah. She's talking about 20% to the church, like, but tithing's 10%. But again, a manager will say what you can and can't do. That's what you have a manager for. They organize your time as an artist. I mean, we had an example the other day where ScoMo went to flood ravaged place, but he wouldn't talk to the people because his media advisor said he was too busy. It happens. They have advisors and people that tell them what they can and can't do. I mean, I don't think he wanted to talk to people anyway, but that's just me. But you know, it's not unusual. Scientology takes 20%, do they? Wow.
they say no. You have to consider the fact that Aubrey has a platform of over 2 million followers, and he has been all over the media. He is easily, based on all the different contracts and the exposure he's had, should have easily been peaking more than $1 million, in a year. He's living in a house that's 2,000 square feet, over an hour outside of LA, in LA County still, and he's not living in an area where influencers that are trying to collab and work together and sort of have the high life live. He's not living in the...
Wow, he's not living in the rich area. So therefore, how disgusting. So what? He's not living in the rich area. Who cares? He's not where all the influencers and that, maybe they don't want to live there. As I said, I don't know whether it's I haven't investigated it, but I just find this all just like totally clueless. I just find it all, who cares where they live? Oh, apparently because it's all bad because they're not living in the rich area.
1,000 square feet, over an hour outside of LA, in LA County still, and he's not living in an area where influencers that are trying to collab and work together and sort of have the high life live. He's not living in the kind of house that an influencer would want to live in if they were...
Why? So not living in a house that an influencer would want to live in. So she's saying they're not living in the house that she would like to live in.
Together and sort of have the high life live. He's not living in the kind of house that an influencer would want to live in if they were really making that kind of money. He's not, he has a Mercedes. He's driving a Mercedes. That's about it when it comes to him.
Oh dear. So he's not living in the rich part of town. So that's his crime. And he's got 1 million followers on Instagram. That's the problem.
So you have to sort of like look at the whole picture. You can't just look at like, well, Slavic's mom is talking to him, or Concrete said he talks to his mom. We don't know how the relationships have changed. We don't know what Slavic's parents are thinking. We don't know what their support systems were like before this. We don't know what their relationships were like before this. So not all family are going to like push back, and some might just like be doing as little as possible to keep those connections. But that's not to say that their lives are not controlled. Okay.
Now she's saying, she's backpedaling. She's saying that's not to say their lives aren't controlled. A lot of people that I know in an industry have their lives controlled to some point. That's what they have managers for. What I want to know is what happens in their downtime. That's when you'd find out. But look, as I said, look, there are other people that are covering this story that are saying that it is a cult. But because she's jumped on this this bandwagon, she's really losing all credibility. Her life is controlled by her marriage. What is she talking about, says Kelly Jones.
Having someone tell you what to wear, what music to dance to, how to act, what to say, all your posts are posted by them.
They're a dance company, so they're going to have to do choreography to certain music, to certain requirements, correct? Is it no different to an actor turning up, receiving the script and being told what to say? If they're doing professional dancing in a professional capacity, they're told what to do because there's a requirement for the job. Of course they're going to be told what to do. Even as an extra on something, you're told where to stand, what to do, when to walk, when to stop. All of that's controlled.
Everything that you do is controlled by them. Every decision is made by them. That's not normal. So this isn't like, oh, poor Miranda. It's like
she should study some of the Ballet Academy's rules and regulations. I reckon. Oh, look, I know even some of the top sports people, their lives are very regulated. They have to eat at certain times. They can only eat at certain times, and they have to have certain food at a certain time. This isn't normal. Like, this is not new. No, they have to get tested and all of that. She hasn't had a proper job for so long, she's forgotten to tell you what you can. Well, that's right. I mean, and I worked at a job where the phones and the computers were monitored. They wanted to make sure that you were, during work hours, you're only doing work stuff. So imagine having, tell them, yes, my feet. I could, even I had to stuff when my feet were an extra. They had to be, they were told what to do at a certain time. So if you're talking about dancers in a dance company, of course they're going to be told what to do, what to wear.
all of the people that are involved in this are victims, and there is a huge net of people that have been doing this for 2 decades with Robert Shin. And so today someone asked me, like, well, why are you just focusing on Shin? Like, you're totally ignoring Daniel, you're ignoring all these other players. And the big picture is Robert Shin. Without Robert Shin, this does not exist. Every other person that's beneath him is either, you know, part of his, if this was a mob, he's the godfather, okay? So think of it that way. If we were an organized crime, he's the godfather.
Wowzers! Princess Jack says, yep, computer is monitored at my work. Also told when to have my lunch. Yes, you told when to have your lunch, when to have your morning tea break, when to have your, well, whatever breaks. You get told when you can have your breaks. You get told how long your breaks have got to be. Mine, actually, one of the jobs I had, it was also monitored how long your breaks were. And then if you had to please explain when, if your breaks didn't line up, or if you were like, you had to log on back onto your computer at a certain time. That's how it works in the real world, KJ. I wonder whether she monitors Toad's computer, though. What do you reckon? She said, I told you months ago. Oh, dear.
At the direction of Robert. And then all the people below him are his minions or his lynchmen or his whatever they do, whatever their job is directed by Robert, okay? And so they have to all be bought in. Does that mean that they're not also part of this criminal enterprise? Yeah, no, that does. I mean, that means that they are, yes. But they're not acting independently on their own. They're at the direction of Robert. So when you want to
me more, they could turn on the camera on me. They'd get a bit of a shock at times. If they want
look at the whole cult, you go at the top. Who's the person that's giving the directions? And then you can kind of like going down and start looking at the tentacles, right? But right now you have to understand who's Robert, what's his deal, who is he directing, what is all of this. That doesn't mean that we don't think that what Daniel's doing is wrong. But then we also recognize that at one point in time, Daniel was a victim of Robert, right? So, and his kids were victims of him as well. But the kids are also participating in it now because they are benefiting from it. And there appears to be a hierarchy in who Robert values in terms of what he believes is the most valuable for him. Because not all of these people are living in the same kind of houses. You know, Isaiah has been able to live a much more lavish lifestyle than Daniel. Daniel and Chloe live in a relatively small home. And it's not in LA or near all of these areas where everyone else is living.
No. They live in a small home. The tragedy is how disgusting. In LA. You mean they don't have Kelly says, I hope she calls Robert's name out when she sleeps. Since I would interview in my home on the phone in all kinds of clothes or lack of, I would put the medical tape over the camera. That's what I would do, me more. That's what I would be doing.
It's nowhere near the size of the home that Robert's living in. He's got church members that are leaders living in where the church property is, and that church property is on 15 acres. It has multiple houses and an apartment building and a church. It has a ton of land, and it's clear that not everyone that's part of this church is treated equally into what they get for living. He's got Shirley Kim, living on basically a rundown church property that's probably being renovated, but then he's got his son Isaiah living in mansions with him, who's an adult, by the way. So the homes that Robert doles out are not equal. You've got Daniel and Chloe living in a house that's maybe 1,600 square feet, while him and Isaiah are living in houses that have 6,000 to 10,000 square feet. It's just very different.
Maybe they can't afford to live in a bigger place. Gee, the Greek Orthodox Church here owns a big property too. They actually built businesses out that they lease out to. Oh no, are they, you know?
Are like, so it's how the cults work, I guess. Like, and so not all dancers are going to be treated equally either. And some are living in bigger houses while others are living in smaller houses, but they're all living together. Like, none of them are living independently. None of them own any of the houses that they live in, and none of them are like, they're paying rent. None of them own any of the houses that they live in.
Listen to this.
Smaller houses, but they're all living together. Like, none of them are living independently. None of them own any of the houses that they live in, and none of them.
So none of them own any of their houses that they live in.
Are like, they're paying rent.
Oh, they're paying rent. Oh, the travesty. Look. They're paying rent, and she's laughing. They're paying rent.
Own any of the houses that they live in, and none of them are like, they're paying rent. And it's all church affiliated. So I hope.
Oh. It's like student living, Kelly Jones, isn't it? Student living. It sounds like a commune. Oh, it does, doesn't it? A bit of a commune. But how dare they pay rent? That's the thing I can't get over. How dare they pay rent?
So Daniel he's a member of his, Daniel was part of Robert's church back in the early 2000s, and he and his parents were members of the church. When the church split in 2008, his parents went with Catherine B's side, and Daniel stayed with Robert. And then Daniel changed his name to Joseph. And now he's just very loyal to Robert. No, he is not a Latter-day like the Moon family. No. How do I get all these assumptions? I actually am not. I'm working on court records and actually factual information.
Right. She has just said that she's working off factual. She is just saying there that what she's saying is fact. Have a listen.
How do I get all these assumptions? I actually am not. I'm working on court records and actually factual information.
Factual information. People, factual information.
So, again, I don't want to they live in just, they live in clumps, okay? And I don't want to say who is living with who. I just want to protect them. They're all living together in a house. Like, there's one specific house that has, 2 couples and a guy.
Uh-oh. She doesn't want to say, but she's already... Well, and don't forget, as we're reminded on one of the Facebook reviews, everything that's in the law document, and she told us herself through the Tardy West book that it was all the court records are only allegations, not facts. Remember, they're only allegations. So unless there's been a judgment made, then, and it's been ascertained that the allegations are facts, then she's actually basing her information on allegations that have not been proven. Just saying.
I don't have a ton of information on Reno. I did find some information about him, but we're still working on that. Isaiah's mom is no longer in the picture, and Chloe's mom is in Canada. They have different moms. So the end goal, I think, is just to figure out the operation of what's happening and continue to uncover any sort of activities that are either illegal or, investigation on any kind of call. You have to put out information into the public, and that's really kind of how things start to unravel. That was another thing I wanted to bring up. People are saying you're not helping the dancers by ruining their sponsorships. You're helping the cult when you are helping the cult when they get sponsorships. You're helping the cult when they're going on their gigs, because they're not getting the money that they should be getting.
Does she know this for a
You're not
fact?
taking things away from the dancers. You're taking things away from the cult. And they are part of a cult now. And unfortunately, if you want to, it's not like the Hype House, though. Hype House isn't, they're not controlling everything that they do and say. They're just the Hype House is more just idiotic. So obviously, people who are dancing with them, the biggest thing, there's twofold situations in this situation. One is that you want to warn people about getting involved in this. You want to warn them that they might be trying to lure women into this. I can see, just based on the trajectory of how Robert operates and how he has slept with multiple people in his group, that women are going to become a high priority in terms of having access to them. So I would warn women specifically. Obviously, you would warn men, but you would want specifically for young women to know. They're going to start targeting younger and younger people because they're the most easily to manipulate. They're going to target people that don't have a good support system and are out here alone. And they're going to target people that are vulnerable. So either they are broke, they are facing a personal tragedy in their lives, or something's going on that they can exploit. If Robert is the problem, why are you dragging other dancers under him?
So she calls someone the troll and says it's either Isaiah or Chloe.
The dancers, or is the problem, why are you dragging other dancers under him? Because the whole system is a problem. But we're not dragging the dancers. The dancers are victims. I'm not posting a ton about the dancers, but this person is such a troll, I can tell. I think that's probably Isaiah or Chloe. Okay, what I can tell you is this. There are many dance studios, agents, and dance managers that are well aware of what's going on. These people in their profession are spreading the word rapidly. So large choreographers and owners of dance studios are letting other people know in the industry what's going on and to not work with or to not hire this group.
Yeah, so they're going to get nothing.
You're obsessed with my eyebrows. Well, thank you.
And now we've
So,
got, it's all about her.
unfortunately, when you involve yourself in a group like this and your boss is doing criminal activity, you are in a group that's indirectly doing bad things. That doesn't mean that you are part of those bad things. You can still be a victim, 100%. Lynn says she's doing that now, managers and agents and studios. I think, you know, asking them and harassing them on whether or not they're in a cult isn't going to help the situation. So we're really just starting this investigation, and we're just working on those details. In terms of, like, if things have been found that are illegal, that's not up for me to decide. Law enforcement would have to make those.
Now, she has just said it's not for her to decide whether it's illegal or not, but she's just trashing them all over the internet. You know? Seriously. Listen to what she's just said.
Investigation, and we're just working on those details. In terms of, like, if things have been found that are illegal, that's not up for me to decide. Law enforcement would have to make those determinations. So all I can do is keep investigating. And obviously anything that we do find, if it is illegal, we'll turn over to the federal government or to the local authorities.
So as of yet, there's nothing illegal.
I'm not going to say which dancers and what choreographers that I've spoken to. Some of these people, it's extremely dangerous because this group has a lot to lose. And so we just have to be very careful.
Will, you're correct that they do have a great case against her. Probably.
In regards to, like, things that you find online, I'm getting a lot of duplicates. At this point, most of what can be found online, I've found. And right now, what we're working through are legal records and doing, like, looking at the properties. So that's sort of like where we're at. We're doing deeper dives than just what you can do on a Google, because that only tells you half the story.
She's doing deeper dives. Yeah, I mean, they possibly do have a very good case. I mean, they've probably got the strongest case of anybody so far because she's literally, and there is so much evidence of her talking about going after, I mean, in this live, she's talked about going after their sponsors. So she's talking about going after their sponsors. She's admitted to it.
I have a group that I'm working with. Yes. There's a group. So we have lots of help. There's lawyers and there's agents that are a part of it. There's security that's a part of it. There's lots of people that are part of it.
In my opinion, no lawyer in their right mind would be telling her to get onto her Instagram lives and spout this stuff. I find it really hard to believe that she's got a lawyer, because the lawyer would be telling her to shut up. Now, what was really, let me just say, the Friendly Geordies video where he exposed the Australian Federal Minister, Peter Dutton, and put some questions, I can tell you now that would have been vetted by the lawyer. Just the way that he spoke, his whole phrase, the way that he did that video, and he made sure to say he wasn't stating that that Peter Dutton was involved in any of their legal stuff, but his friends, had question marks on it. But I would say his lawyers had worked with him on that. There's no way a lawyer would be telling her to go and spout her mouth off like this. I don't watch it very much either, Mimo. I only read one and I thought, wow, I've got to look at this one.
So I have not received threats at this point. Obviously, you have already seen all of the bad posts that have been made by people in the group. That's going to just continue. They'll probably start digging up my personal life and say that I'm a bad mom, or I have this, or I have that. I said this in the past.
So she's already setting up for the victim. So she's already setting up the fact that she's going to get bullied and targeted, and she's going to be a victim. So she's setting up a narrative ready to go.
I said that in the past. That's just standard. I'm not in Los Angeles, so I'm probably the least one to be not at risk right now.
Oh, dear me.
We have a lot of people involved. I'm not going to say who's involved. I'm also MLM Mommy. We have spoken to people that deal with cults. We've spoken to former members of cults. We have a lot of resources right now.
Yeah, I know that Bella says she never listens to her lawyer and she does whatever she wants to do. That's against. Well, that's right. I guess the only thing that her lawyer's going to do is go, well, that's billable hours. But I don't know how a lawyer with any ethics could actually allow it because one of the first subjects that I'm having to do, one of the first subjects I've just done is ethics of a lawyer and how you've got responsibility to the court, and you've got to make sure that you're always telling the truth, and how you've got to get rid of clients if you suspect that they're not being truthful.
Lots of resources. When it comes to Lydia, I'm not going to say yes or no because I'm not going to put anyone at risk. But everything that we can do, we're going to do.
But you've already done it.
I'm not going to say who we're working with or who we're talking to because I don't want them to be at risk either. So we're going to be a little bit more careful.
Bella says, am I setting up next week's bullet journal in the background? No. No, I'm actually just laying out my B6 Hobonichi at the moment, the one that I've just swapped over to for my day today carry. I've already filmed next week's.
Like what we say and what we do, but it is not just me anymore. Yeah, she deleted her profile yesterday. MLM Mombi. Oh, you do the MLM stuff. Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like a cult like MLM, but a little bit more dangerous.
I love it.
I mean, this is kind of like a cult like MLM, but a little bit more dangerous.
She's going, I do more dangerous work than you. Oh dear, KJ.
I have a team now, so you're welcome to send me anything that you have. I've had lots of journalists and tons of production companies reach out to me. So most of these people are finding me. Miranda is with her parents.
Yeah, so remember, Miranda went to visit her parents, and remember, she knows everything that goes on. And but she didn't know that Miranda was meeting her parents.
Miranda is with her parents. I did not see her live. Cults are very dangerous, but yes, we have a lot of people helping, and we have security. So I'm not working on this alone. Oh, and Heather from the Juicy Scoop. You guys heard? Did you guys hear her? Did you listen to her podcast? I absolutely love her. She's actually a comedian, but now she does a podcast, and she talks about like what's going on the internet and with celebrity stuff. So yeah, I talked to her last week. I knew she was going to be talking about me. So it was awesome to hear her give this information out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, Young Living's class action lawsuit says that they're a cult-like organization, right? Yeah, I didn't think that Miranda was with her parents. Melanie's with her parents. Maybe that's what they're saying. Heather McDonald, yes, from the Juicy Scoop.
So she's just told them all now to go listen to that
so
podcast.
Nice.
She's a cult leader.
Who is at risk? You just have to be careful. I haven't been paying attention to what Miranda's been doing and not doing, because right now I've been doing my research on the Shins.
She dropped the ball. Her sources didn't even tell her.
And then other thing is people were saying, well, let them just live their lives. They're doing what they want to be doing. So these kinds of groups operate in a world where you don't respond to what you see. Ignore it and let people live their lives. Live and let live. Unfortunately, we also live in a society where we live and let live, and we ignore the warning signs and the red flags. People can get hurt. And if we are made aware that someone is in danger or part of something where they could get hurt, then are you going to just stand there idly and not do anything and let them live and let live and say, well, it's their fault because they got themselves involved in it? Or are you going to try to find a way to expose the situation that they're involved in so that the information gets out there, so pressure is applied to the cult so they start losing deals? Of course, MLM, Mombi. I think I've followed your page before. But this cult has had children involved in the past. So this idea that children are not involved and these are all just adults is not true. The allegations are that they had a school that they made the members put their kids in, and they made the members work all day long, and the kids were just at the school all day by themselves without parents.
Isn't that what happens at school? Did she just say what she just said? The kids were at school all day without their parents? Did she just say that?
Are that they had a school that they made the members put their kids in, and they made the members work all day long, and the kids were just at the school all day by themselves without parents.
Boy. Oh. I don't know. I don't know whether she's toteless in this one. I don't know. She did say that the parents put the kids in the school and then work all day. And that means that they're a cult. That means we're all in a cult, people. Let's just play that back again.
True. The allegations are that they had a school that they made the members put their kids in, and they made the members work all day long, and the kids were just at the school all day by themselves without parents.
They were at school all day without parents.
With people from church. With people from church.
What, like an after-school care, like an after-school program that people in real life do because they actually have to work. They drop their kids off at 7 o'clock in the morning and they pick their kids up at 6 o'clock at night because they have to work. You mean like that? Is she really that out of touch with real world? Because
yeah, silence doesn't help victims.
I can't believe that she's talking about the fact that the kids were at school without their parents all day while their parents worked all day. That's what normal people do. Well, Llama Girl says one of my favorite clips. She says, I think you guys are confusing Melanie and Miranda. I don't think Miranda is with her parents. Thinking of Melanie, it was Miranda with her parents. I'll have to go find out about this. And then she stops alive. She didn't know. Her sources weren't very good.
Yeah, silence doesn't help victims.
Is that the dog licking? What's the dog licking in the background? I don't know whether you can hear it. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, silence doesn't help victims. I think you guys are confusing Melanie and Miranda. I don't think Miranda's with her parents. Are you thinking of Melanie? It was Miranda with her parents. I'll have to find out about that. Kelly, if you can find, or if any of you have the copy of that video, if you have a copy of that video, send it to me. And I'll take a look. All right, you guys, bye.
She's not happy. Look, I love this peek. It's taken the moment she finds out that Miranda was with her parents and she says, she didn't know.
And the video, really, really, really quick. I'm going to be very quick. I am in the process of uploading my second video. And the video is going to be addressing that Miranda did meet with her parents, But more importantly, it's going to be addressing some of the allegations that have come out against Robert Shin and his previous group that he had back into the early 2000s. So while I think it's amazing that she's meeting with her family, I think everyone should sort of like temper your expectations. A lot of times when groups are pinned up against a wall like this, you will see that they'll have members connect with their family members, but it takes a long time to unwind and unpack all of this. So there is likely a lot of pressure being placed on the Shins and 7M to make this right because they are likely losing money. I don't know what's going to happen with this. A lot of people have asked, like, did the Wilkins family tell anyone? Everyone I've talked to behind the scenes had no idea that this was going to happen, and I'm sure that was intentional because they probably didn't want it to get out. That doesn't mean that this is going to be a tense reunion for them, regardless what happens. You know, they're going to be up against a girl that's been under control and mind control for over a year. It's going to be really challenging. I know when Catherine Oxenberg tried to meet with India when she was trying to get her out of Nexium, she had a lot of meetings like this, several, before, you know, she would fully get out. I'm not going to assume anything here. I'm just going to know that this is likely going to be a very tense situation. I have zero idea what has been planned, but I have talked to multiple people that are close to the Wilkins family, and they had no clue that this was going to happen. So what I am going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a video where I'm going to talk about her meeting. I'm going to talk a little bit about the videos that she put up, the live streams that she did. And then I'm also going to talk about some of the issues that Robert Shin was dealing with back in the early 2000s. I want to just say this. There's going to be a lot of people that enter into the story as it becomes a larger story. Start reporting on this, you're going to hear a lot of different takes. You can watch and listen to everyone's take on every single thing. I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that when we focus on the story, we're going to talk about Miranda, but it's not just about Miranda. We don't want it to be just a story about Miranda. Am I going to talk about Miranda today? Yes, but this is not a story just about Miranda. This is a story about Robert Shin. And yeah, I don't know anything. I don't want to comment on what Sloan did or did not do. I am just going to say this, that like there's enough testimony from people that know the Wilkins family to say that this is not about racism. There's enough proof from so many people that know them, from other people that are in their lives, from all these different facets, that it wasn't about racism. It was about their concern about their daughter getting sucked into a dangerous, extreme cult with her boyfriend being a part of that. It doesn't have anything to do with the color of his skin. It had everything to do with the organization that he was involved in. He could have been white, and they would have had the exact same concerns. The cult is using race as a means to divide the conversation and distract. So, at the end of the day, this is a situation where we want to not focus on the loud things that the cult is going to do to distract us. Her husband was in their last cult 10 years ago. Actually, no. So I believe they left the cult in like 2014, but he was in that cult for like, I don't know, 10 years. So he's been heavily influenced by this world of being under somebody else's control. But this current cult has nothing to do with his previous cult. I hope that makes sense. This has happened to people of all different backgrounds. They are preying on people of color that have been faced economic hardships and that are dealing with uncertain futures, and they have preyed on people that have lost their siblings and lured them in and using any weakness that that person has to promise them fame, money, and fortune. I'm not gonna. Some days I'll tell you about my makeup. So I'm uploading the video right now. they're preying on people that are broken, and they are controlling their minds. And it's I don't know, like, they're all victims. Kendra's a victim. Alexandra's a victim. Kylie is a victim. Concrete, B-Dash, Tight Eyes, Aubrey, Slavic, they're all victims. They might not want you to think they're victims. They might think that they're living a life that's amazing. But I promise you that if they separate themselves from this group and they actually have an opportunity to look at the books and what their books say in 10 years, you're going to hear them talk about how a man in California with a history of fraud ripped them off, stole their money, and ruined their careers, attempted to ruin their careers, and ruin their lives. No influencer under any means, and I know a lot, would ever want to not be making money with the platforms that they have. They had the hardest time getting Kylie in. They're going to have trauma for years from this, and it's going to initially impact their world in social media and their brand deals, but the long-term goal is to get them free from this. So just focus on the people.
So there we go.
Let's just work together to keep exposing Robert Shin. And as I know more, I will know more. I also want to let you guys know I'm no longer working alone. I want to be clear, I'm not doing anything independent anymore. So if I say we in any of my reporting, that's because I have people helping me now. There's other people besides me doing investigation, and we're working together on this with the long-term goal of making sure that this stops. All right. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to upload my video. And, oh, yes, Heather McDonald. You guys asked. I spoke to her. I'm so happy. I was so glad to see her post and talk about it on her podcast. I always enjoyed her podcast. I don't know if you remember, but she is a stand-up comedian. And I think she is absolutely hysterical. I love this direction that she's taken with her career of doing more hot topic stuff. So, yeah, I was really excited to see that she took hold of the story and shared it. And I thought her take on it was very ethical and it was very reasonable. And, yeah, she's also very, very pleasant and so kind. So, yeah, I was very excited. Yep, I love her. I love her juicy scoop. So, yeah, there's lots of people watching and paying attention. All right, I'm going to upload this video. So, do me a favor.
Okay.
Make sure you check my stories in a few minutes and check this video out, share it because it's going to have details about the lawsuits, and we're going to keep going.
So there you go. That was her last Instagram live. I'm very as I said, they may be problematic and there may be some issues there, but because of the fact that it's coming from, I just don't know what's truth. I don't know what's the truth anymore. So Heather McDonald, I think her name was. So I just saw this. This is can you see it? I'll just show you this. Katie, quick question. Boxes or briefs? Depends. That's nasty. Oh boy. Oh boy, that was funny. Whoever that was, thank you for that laugh. Just appeared in down my Twitter feed. I can't find it now. Oh yeah, there we go. I'll retweet it. Oh. Oh, that was to the tweet before about her team. There you go. Katie Paulson's team: Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, Jose Severo, Johnny Walker, Captain Morgan. And then that's one of the responses. Oh, that was so funny. I'm afraid. Anyway, I think that's a really good note to end on. Because I've just realized it's past midnight. You dressed up for my team. Well, actually, could get no, I didn't see your picture of her feet. I'll have to have a look. Oh, when was that? Well, no, I don't. I'm just seeing if KJ's feet are gross. Oh, I can beat her with that. But but mine had makeup on it. Oh, okay. Will's gonna find it. So I'm just waiting for Will now to send me the picture of her feet. But the feet on the sea. Really? I don't know. There is a new account called Without a Crystal Ball or Clue. Yeah, well, we're in autumn or fall, as you would call it. So it's still okay. So this Without a Crystal Without a crystal ball or clue, I believe is one of the dancers or something. But this is what it says. KJ says, I have no lawsuit filed against me. And then the next second she says, I only have one. So which is it, 0 or 1? KJ says lawsuits don't mean anything when it's against her, but then talks about the seriousness of the lawsuits filed against Dr. Shen many years ago. How many has KJ faced alone last year? Doesn't matter to her that the case went to trial on its merits and the case was dismissed by a judge. This is the interesting thing. The Shin's lawsuit was dismissed. In the United States of America, anyone can file a lawsuit claiming and alleging anything under the sun. This does not mean that it was what was filed was true. For instance, I can file a frivolous lawsuit and claim that you killed my cat and are my grandma, but most likely such a ridiculous claim will not succeed through the court's process unless there is evidence backing up claims. This is our legal process, where two parties sit down, have formal discovery processes and interviews called depositions. And then once all the evidence, or lack thereof, is laid out, a judge decides on the merits of the case. Thank God we don't live in a country where you can go to jail simply based on hearsay. So KJ, the self-proclaimed legal expert, judges many innocent people on crimes they did not commit through her cyberbullying tactics. Look her up for yourself and do your own research. It's true. Anyway, based on that note, I'm going to head off. I'm going to say good night or good morning because it's, as I said, it's just gone past midnight here. And I will see you all next time. I don't know when that will be, but there will be a next time. All right, bye for now.